So no matter who you are, I'm pretty sure you've used a subscription service somewhere. Could be music, TV, hell, even loot boxes. And I know some of you watch my videos with YouTube Premium, represent, but I know it, you know it, there are just too many subscription services, period. I mean, and there are some really bizarre ones that could get their own video, but for now, I just want to look at some of the bigger industries for it. So without further ado, let's look at them. Looking at the music industry over the past 20 years, it has changed a lot. From things like Napster to Pandora to SoundCloud. And starting at the beginning, you could argue that buying a CD was the first type of subscription service. Like, yeah, you could hear the songs on the radio, but with commercials. Or you could pay for a cassette for your Walkman or a CD for your CD player to listen to the music you want without any commercials. Fast forward, there was a premium version of LimeWire, which basically did nothing. Once LimeWire and Napster were out of the way, radio was basically where you got most of your music, unless you're buying songs on iTunes, until boom, internet radio. Pandora basically walked in, threw its giant schlong on the table and said, hey, you know the music industry? Yeah, we own that shit now. Pandora was you pay once a month and you get all the music, all the albums, all the songs you want with no commercials. Let me reiterate, no commercials. Bye radio. Bye, Rady baby. Bye. We don't need you anymore. Bye. We're good. We got Pandora. Bye. Advance some more time and boom, Tidal. Boom, Spotify. Boom, Apple Music. Boom, SoundCloud. Each one of these things have their own paid version of them to get rid of the ads. The issue for streaming services of music lies within the fact of how much we pay them. I pay $13 for Spotify and I only use it for podcasts. That is 3 hours for one stream. Do you know how much one song stream gets your favorite artist? You stream one song from an artist and they get half of a penny. Half of a penny. You know, the little currency that people are trying to get rid of. Half of that. There is a ton of money in my $13 that is lost every month because I listen to podcasts. Say it's a heavy month and I listen to 50 podcasts that month. I gave 25 cents to the creators of those podcasts. That is highway robbery. Let me pull up my stats here. I listened to 976 hours of music last year. Say every song is like 3 minutes, that's roughly 19,520 songs, okay? All the artists I listened to last year got a total of $117.12. Spread amongst the 700 unique artists that I listened to last year. That is, again, highway robbery. Most likely, most of those artists saw less than $1. 117 went to artists, and I spent 156 on Spotify last year. 117 actually doesn't sound that bad, but the thing is, I'm an outlier. I listen to music damn near 24/7. If it's not music, it's a podcast. I highly doubt that the average music listener is getting even half of that. So basically what I'm saying is, when you can, buy your music, especially if you're listening to an underground artist or an independent artist, somebody who's not big. Buy your music. That is the best way to get a bigger chunk of cash to them. Now, let's move on to what you've all been waiting for. Now, television is arguably the biggest streaming service industry right now. You know, we got our titans, the Netflix, the Hulu, the Disney Plus. We'll talk a little bit more about Netflix later, but every company, it seems, has their own streaming service, whether it's a conglomerate or an individual channel. An example of a conglomerate that I've actually used is DC. I used it when it first came out. It wasn't that good because there just wasn't a lot of good things on it, but I used it for Titans, which is the live-action Teen Titans show, which, mind you, is surprisingly good. They portrayed the characters accurately, the story was alright, the pacing was pretty good, but I digress. They've gotten better, they've added a lot more good shows. I'm kind of tempted to go back and watch that Harley Quinn show, but as they add more stuff, buying the subscription to them becomes more and more worth it. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier for a conglomerate to become more worth it than an individual channel streaming service. Now, when you're approaching making your own streaming service as an individual channel, you have to have a killer lineup of starting shows, especially if you're only gonna have like 10. For example, you've been hearing about Showtime forever, and that's because they have very good shows on there. The show I use Showtime for is actually Kidding, which is a very good show. Highly recommend. Favorite show since Breaking Bad, probably. And there are other streaming service based off of channels like HBO and Stars. And the best thing about these channel-specific streaming services is that you've at least heard of 1 or 2 shows from that specific streaming service. And that's good because it gives us as consumers, just in general, more great shows to watch. And it's pretty good that they realize that they basically need to have killer shows when they want to start one of these things. Because just like video games that I mentioned in my Fortnite video, shows are doing the same thing. They are competing for your time and money. So that means high caliber shows to get your attention and keep your attention. And by extension, your wallet. But now I want to talk about something that I've noticed as a whole in this industry. You remember when all Netflix was like Lord of the Rings? Like when it wasn't much of a streaming platform to begin with? Their whole model was just renting you DVDs via mail. Around this time is when the cable television services kind of started to shit themselves. I was pretty young and I didn't really know how cable services worked, but I recently researched it and something kind of clicked with me. And before I get into it, let me explain what the old model of the cable services were. They used to lump together a bunch of channels that you don't want with the ones that you do want, so they can jack up the price because they're giving you more channels in general. For example, you're only gonna watch Cartoon Network to watch My Gym Partner's a Monkey, but they also threw in Nat Geo, Sci-Fi, and Telemundo. Now because they're giving you 60 plus channels, they're gonna charge you $130 plus a month, when you're only in reality gonna use it for the one channel on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. EST. And you like Netflix, right? Remember back when it was like $7.99? Yeah, well now it's $16. That is an over 100% price jump. The prices are rising. And what do you actually watch on Netflix? You watch maybe 1 or 2 at a time out of like the 150 plus that are on Netflix. Are you seeing the parallel yet? Just like the old cable service providers, Netflix and other streaming services like it are jacking up their prices and adding more and more shows that you are not going to watch. And because you watch the same amount of shows and they keep adding more and more shows to Netflix, the worth of getting it goes way down. It becomes less worth it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is history repeating itself. There's not really a moral to this story other than pay attention and watch what you're spending your money on. If you use one service more than the other, maybe try a month without using that other service and see how you fare. I know Hulu has a feature where you can put your subscription on pause for a set amount of time of your choosing, and it'll just push back your payment and you won't be able to use it, but you can also of course reactivate it at any time. I think that's a very good feature to have when it comes to having your customers save money. It also makes Hulu look really good and not as money hungry as the other streaming services. And use these features to your advantage. If you put it off for a month and find you're cool without it, bye Felicia, you don't need to use it anymore. Then you got an extra $10, go buy yourself a Big Mac. And now it's time for me to go into quarantine after a quick word from our sponsor.
Look at this.
It's fine.
I put my hand on the brake to get to sit down, and now I
Don't pee.
don't pee.
No.
That's. I hope that's chocolate. This video is sponsored by. This video is sponsored by this dirty car. That's a wall. You know, 1 in every 4 frogs die of hypothermia. Once in a lifetime opportunities happen once in a lifetime. Oh, look at the evidence! Grenade out! Sorry, Danny.
Oh my god. No.
I just ran over dog poop. Oh my god.
Me too. We both just got stuff in our face.
It was a bug.
That was a nice camera. Don't.
It was a bug. Leave me alone. What? Doorbells are overrated. I
Away
prefer
the
to
door.
put my butt cheeks on the window, and then I try to knock like that.
Chase, go away the doorbell.
Makes for a nice little surprise when they like walk up to the door. I keep that thing on, you know what I mean? Jesse rolling. What's rolling? They trying to catch me riding dirty. They trying to catch me riding. All right, I'm going inside. Oh, I got a competitor now. What's up?
Oh my.
That's how we do it in the 602, baby. That felt so cool.
Oh God. Chase, I don't like this.
We didn't see anything. Get inside, get inside, get inside, get inside, get inside, get inside.
What did you do?
This video is sponsored by the subscribe button. Not mine, just a subscribe button. That's on you to figure out.